This meeting in order. This is the October Arlington Schools regular board meeting. Tonight's meeting is being held in compliance with the Nebraska Open Meetings Act, a copy which is at the back of the room. So let's go ahead and take roll, please.
Jason Arp.
Here.
Chase Carnival.
Here.
Matt O'Daniel.
Here.
Bruce Shear.
Here.
Janet Warner.
Yes.
Shannon Wilmot. Here.
All right, everybody's here. Let's say the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first item on our agenda tonight is item 1.4, which is the approval of this evening's agenda. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the regular meeting agenda as presented. Second.
Okay, thank you, Bruce and Chase. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and vote.
Jason Arp.
Yes.
Bruce Shear.
Yes.
Shannon Wilmot. Yes. Matt O'Daniel.
Yes.
Janet Warner.
Yes.
Chase Carnival.
Yes.
All right, very good. Our regular meeting agenda is approved. Item 2 on the agenda is welcome to our guests that are here this evening, and this is the board's public forum. If there's anybody here this evening that wishes to speak to the board, this is the time we have allotted to do so. There's a sign-in sheet there as well. Do we have anybody signed in tonight?
We do not.
Anybody like to sign in and speak before we move on? Okay, seeing none. We'll move ahead into the consent agenda. Item 3.1 are the minutes from the prior board meeting. Item 3.2 are the monthly financial reports. Anything you want to add or discuss the consent agenda, Dr. Lewis?
Just a couple things on the financial reports, and I'm going to ask Jane to kind of explain a little bit, but we can't complete our budget until, in e-finance, until the audit is complete, because those are the figures in a couple of the funds that we start with. And so it's the special funds report looks a little bit different tonight because of the reconciliations were not possible yet, because we haven't started the budget year yet.
Well, that'll actually, I just can't see that.
So I'm the only one who knew that.
Okay, so
So, yeah, and we do have the next payment on there to Boyd Jones.
Yeah.
And Todd and I can email about that, so we'll continue to talk. I mean, we got the request, and I think, I don't know if there was anything that needed to change on that or not, so.
Yeah, we should review it.
okay. Where are we at with all of it?
I didn't talk to her today. When I talked to her on Friday, I think they were moving right along. She was planning to talk to me today, and I didn't call her, so she didn't contact me then. I think she reached out to you right now, did she?
No.
So
And I was at a meeting there. So.
my short answer is I think it's been on pretty well, but as of today, I don't know if that's it.
And we'll need to check in, yeah. Last year they gave us a lot of grace with our AFR for COVID, but I know that won't be happening this year, but being we're not in a transition here from one auto to the next, we're assuming that we will not need that extra time. However, I have to submit the SPED financials based on numbers off the AFR too, so we need everything done by the end of October. So, yeah.
October, okay.
Yeah.
It's due November 1st.
All right.
But mine is due October 30th, so I would need it before that.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Chase and Janet. Is there any more discussion? Let's vote, please.
Bruce Shear.
Yes.
Shannon Wilmot. Yes. Matt O'Daniel.
Yes.
Janet Warner.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Chase Carnival.
Yes.
Jason Arp.
Yes. All right, very good. Motion carries. That moves us down into our curriculum reports. Item 4.1. So we have the counselors here.
Yeah,
this
we,
month, which is pretty cool.
We're gonna have at least one of them here
Okay.
live and in person, but health did not cooperate with us, so
Right.
we're seeing who is able to join us on Zoom here. Well, that's me, but I'm also in person.
Which one?
There is
Yeah.
no way. We did have a message from one from the get-go. Oh, there we go. All right. Hello, Mrs. Myers.
Sorry, now you get to see me.
That's okay.
Can you hear us?
I think so.
There we go.
Yep.
Okay, I'm here. Oh, there I am. Thanks for letting me zoom in, everybody. Sorry I couldn't be there.
And this is our elementary counselor, Alexis Myers.
Hello.
So we're gonna go ahead and let you just kind of take us through what you and Mrs. Todd put together for counselor's report.
Okay. Do I have access to share my screen? Are you able to grant me access so I can share my screen up on the
Should be in the
projector?
bottom there, where it says share, if you pull that thing aloud. Let's see what that says. Can you try it?
It says it's disabled. Quiet, can you please go together?
I want to share my screen. Can you share your screen?
Yeah, open that up again, and I think go to advanced,
Okay, finish it.
multiple participants, the bottom one on the top. Bottom one on the top. Okay. That should do it. Try that one. Alexis, will you want to see if you can share now? Maybe.
Okay, I think we're in business.
All right,
Okay. You should see curriculum board reports for counseling.
we do.
Super. Okay. Quiet. Okay. For letting me zoom in, it's a lot easier this way than I have my children in tonight, so thank you for doing that. We're gonna talk about K-12 counseling. And first, I'm Lexi Myers, I'm the new elementary school counselor this year at Arlington. Is the background noise okay, or is it too loud?
No, we can't hear it.
Okay. So what we do, what does a school counselor do? First, we focus on core curriculum. There's individual student planning, responsive services that could include individual counseling, small group counseling, or crisis response services. Like maybe if there's a death in the family, then the counselor can respond to that student and see if they need anything. Indirect services, that includes a lot of that collaboration and consultation with community providers and teachers and staff in the building. This is kind of a broad overall with elementary and middle and high school counselors, so school counselor overall. Arbor Family Counseling, I'm going to talk a little bit about this because Holly and I, so Mrs. Topt and I both do Arbor Family Counseling, work with them. There's free services for students and staff. In school services, there's not a limit on the sessions. And at the Arbor location, there is that limit to two sessions per issue. Can you go to the Arbor, please? Sorry. Region 6 and Project Harmony, trauma grant funding. So we met with them at the end of September, I believe. We met with Region 6 with that grant. The disaster relief grant, I believe is what it's called. And so we're going to be able to trauma-based counseling services. And there's potential trauma-based staff training as well. I had informed Dr. Lewis and the administration about that training to see if we would be interested in that as a school and present that to our staff. Project Harmony, they are going to provide the counseling services, so they partner with outside therapists. And we already, I'm going to go back to our slide. So we already have Arbor Family Counseling in place, and there is one therapist in the building coming in once a week. I just returned back from maternity leave not too long ago, so I'm still getting familiar with the students and the families. And I let Arbor Family know that referrals will slowly come in as I get to know students and our needs in our building. So what's really nice is with the disaster relief grant, Region 6 and Project Harmony is able to provide us with another therapist that is still in the works. So there's an opportunity for us to have 2 therapists in our building, which would be nice so that maybe I can focus on the elementary side with one therapist and Holly can focus on the middle high school side with another therapist. So that's a really wonderful opportunity that we were able to receive. Communities that care through the 3 Rivers grant and community partnerships. Holly knows a little more about this. I'm still trying to get familiar with everything in the district and learning all the things. So I don't have a lot more to say about communities that care. I think Dr. Lewis might have more to say about that. I believe Holly's on the board with.
Holly is on the community board, on the board with Communities That Care, and then I'm on like the leader team, so it's the superintendents and things like that. But it's an organization that's trying to find community partners as well to kind of put supports not just in the schools for our students, but in the communities. They're partnering with the health departments and with Region 6, I believe, and it's a separate kind of entity or organization. And I think the grant is also obtained for whatever Communities That Care is costing as well. So Courtney DiGiorgio from 3 Rivers has kind of got it started this summer. There were a couple of longer meetings that we attended via Zoom this summer to get that rolling. And we just have so much going on here that I can pass. I mean, I'm still on the leaders, the decision makers, I guess, portion of that. But then Holly is representing the school as our board person. Holly talked, our high school guidance counselor. There'll be some things coming out. The first thing that they're going to do is probably do a survey that's similar to like I think it was the SHAPE survey that the Department of Education used to do, which is talking about like the health and behaviors of our students. It's an anonymous survey. They just want to gather data so they know where focus their efforts within the community. So that's really just getting going now.
Thank you, Dr. Lewis.
You're welcome.
Okay, Hope Squad. So Holly and I, as well as our school psychologist, we are going to a training this week about Hope Squad. So Dr. Lewis had brought it up to us as a staff, and I demonstrated some interest in it. I ran a Hope Squad at my previous school in the elementary grades 4 through 6. It's a suicide prevention peer group. So we're thinking about training and planning this school year and then implementing the program next school year. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what I do specifically on the elementary side with K through 6 students in counseling. So the services I provide are classroom lessons, teaching and promoting social and emotional skills, study skills, and career development. So that's a really broad range. We do all sorts of things, learning about friendship and self-esteem and managing strong emotions. And those are just a few examples. Short-term individual counseling. So if I notice a student in need for counseling services, I will see them for a short term or do more of a kind of check-in. And if I think they need further services, I can always refer out to long-term therapy. But now with us having our family counseling in the building, that will be really nice. So if I see a student in need, I can refer them to that therapist and they can get services right in the building. I also do consultation with parents and teachers, and again, the community resource referral. So the Community That Cares group, as well as the Arbor Family Counseling. So I know for sure about those. I'm still getting familiar with the services that and other resources that we have here in Arlington. I talked a little bit about this. So here are some of the lesson topics that I am focusing on this school year with students: friendship, empathy and respect, setting goals, teamwork, self-esteem, making good choices, being responsible, managing strong emotions, bullying prevention, importance of kindness, and suicide prevention. So this is just a little snapshot of some of the lessons that we are going to be doing throughout the year. And 7 through 12 counseling. services that Holly has been providing is short-term individual counseling, focusing on academic, career, and college, and also social emotional, passion lessons, staff collaboration, and outside referrals. From August to now, she has been involved in dual enrollment and Kickstart program, scheduling, one-on-one senior meetings, apply to college days, trades, career fair, college and business fair, and we are going to be conducting a needs assessment of, I can't remember what grades, I believe it's all of high school and middle school, and then 5th and 6th grade we're going to include as well. Some upcoming things that Holly will be doing is the PSAT testing, financial aid night, senior family meetings, implementation of counseling curriculum, and communities that care survey and implementation. And that is it. What questions do you have, if any?
Questions? No? Anything else the admin wants to add?
They have a lot going on, these ladies do, and they're doing a great job kind of taking things. I believe that some of these opportunities kind of came to us, we've had them in place, or they came to us this summer, or they helped us dream them up since they began, and they've really kind of run with them. And I'm just really encouraged and feel like we've got two great people in place here that really are working hard to understand our school, understand our staff, understand our kids, and do great things.
Or the importance of this role increasing every year.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Thank you for joining us.
I hope your little one gets to feeling better pretty soon.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. Sorry I couldn't be there again. I really appreciate the flexibility and accommodating to me. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, if nobody objects, I'm gonna jump down to item 6.1, which is renovation update, building update, and we can get through this and get these gentlemen back home. Do we have anybody else joining us digitally tonight?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
No.
All right. So I'll turn it over to you guys if you want to bring us up to speed where we're at. I walked through it before the board meeting. There's certainly progress coming. Yeah.
Real good progress, right?
Mhm.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say, I don't want to steal your thunder, but before we do dive into the construction piece of it, I know Don has talked to Cody Millen and some of the board members. Unfortunately, he's taking another role with another firm. So moving forward, I'll be your point of contact as well as others at the electric as well. So I just want to let you guys know.
Sure.
If you do reach out to Cody, you don't get an answer. We'll get
A lot of the work had kind of transitioned to you anyway after the initial phases and whatnot. But yeah, she reached out to us last week. I think, and I definitely shared that out with the admin team. I think about that now.
I think so.
Yeah, a lot to talk about in this couple of days. But yeah, so we wish him well, and
Sure.
it was great to work with.
Yeah. So now that you're in charge, this is just gonna get done faster.
It's gonna be cheaper.
Double time.
And cheaper.
That's-
The good news is for you guys, I'm kind of the same bandwidth as Cody, so
Okay.
if we do dive into the projects or whatever it might be, I'm the one that kind of helps out, like, well, maybe we could do this, and all the requests that you guys have as well. I do the same thing, so just to let you guys know, you're in good hands. We have plenty of folks that'll pick up when we wrap up, so.
Okay.
So, you know. Construction wise?
Yeah, so no Mark this month. Mark's elk hunting currently, so no Zoom options or Skype
The
in.
mountains in
Yeah,
Utah.
Yep. So work continues since the meeting last month. Kind of go around the school. So in the renovation work down here, the bathrooms are now operational and open. The last piece in both classrooms, both the FCS classroom and the science classroom, was getting the plumbing fixtures all turned on. Sinks, faucets, and everything are now installed, running, so everything's functional in both classrooms. The last piece down there over Christmas break will be the window replacement and kind of finishing the finishes around the window, and then a last coat of paint, which will all happen over the holiday break. So those classrooms turned out very nice, and it's nice that everything's functional. Bathrooms are up and running too.
Yeah, the bathrooms, it's like back to the future. Yeah, they look very nice. Good job.
The quick mention over in the elementary school, the wheelchair lift is operational now. Same thing down there. We've got a little bit of finish work left, some painting and some flooring, but the lift is up and running now. As we move down here in the high school wing, the window installation has been ongoing. They finished putting the last window in on the west side, so all the windows from here to the north are now installed, the new windows. They took down the last temporary walls that we had put up inside the classrooms for separation today. And cleaned up those last couple classrooms. So that was a major effort from Mr. Finkston and all the teachers to be as accommodating as they were. Schedule-wise, it really helped us to be able to have enough work to put in front of the subcontractors to be able to get all those done before it really got cold. But major credit to his efforts and all the teachers for being so accommodating to make our lives easier, but it makes their life easier now that we've got the classrooms turned back over to them. So that's much appreciated. The same effort will happen over the holiday break of finishing the drywall and the trim and kind of buttoning up everything around those windows in each classroom. But at least the new windows are in and the temporary walls are down, and they'll be weatherproof as we come into winter. Moving out to the addition, we are just about done with the new block walls. So they moved their last bit of scaffolding out today and have one section in the northwest corner of exterior block wall to go up, and then that effort will be done. The masonry sub will move over to installing brick pretty soon, so it'll start looking nice on the outside. The storm shelter area has the hollow core roof is set now. So they've started framing up some of the interior walls in there, and then that'll cut our electrician and plumber loose to start their work inside there. We're hopeful to have the rest of the floors poured this week, but with the rain coming tomorrow night, Wednesday morning, we'll see about that. Wednesday is also our big delivery day when all of our roof joists and metal decks show up. So that's, I think as we've talked before, the big lead time items that we were all waiting for, the ones that got cut loose the morning after you guys approved the GMP contract, was the hollow core slabs, which are installed, brick, which is here. Joists show up Wednesday. That's the other major long lead time item that had big schedule implications if something didn't happen there. So it'll be good to see those get here this week, and we'll start installing the roof probably next week. Start installing those, and then a roof on and get dried in before winter comes. So that's kind of the race right now of getting everything dry so we can keep moving inside. As we finish some of the masonry work on the outside and the brick, the plan is to start once their access is toned down and don't need around the outside of the building, bring our fence back in and do some of our sidewalk work so that we can eliminate the temporary street closures that we've had to do so that the elementary kids can come to school and leave every afternoon. So that'll be a big push to try and get somewhat back to normal on the Bell Street there. So that work is moving along very well, on schedule. Since last meeting, cost-wise, we don't have any new changes that we're tracking. So that's good as far as overall budget goes, that we're still on budget. still on schedule.
Pull that up, actually, just email it to Jackie because she's got the screen there on the spreadsheet. I don't know if you want to pop that up. I don't know if that looks too different, but it just kind of shows you where, where we went over in some and under significantly in others, so.
Yeah, so the only new item from last month that's on there, I believe, would be we requested to fur out a couple walls where there's some plumbing in area A, which is basically we have a block wall and we're adding some metal stud framing in front of it so we can run our electrical and plumbing up in the metal stud wall instead of having to put it in the block wall or on the face of the block wall for the electrical. And so that will be an add of maybe $1,000 or $2,000, but with some of the contingency that we have, it probably will not be an adjustment to the GMP.
Yeah.
That it will be so minor. But that's the only one that you guys haven't seen before as far as new change. Other than that, we haven't had any new changes or ads or credits since last month. So, which is good. It's better to have things move along than have to track a lot of ups and downs.
Is there any issues with any of the, like the electrical outlets and stuff that's coming over from China held up on barges and stuff like everything else?
You never say never because we don't know what
You haven't gotten the wiring and stuff in yet?
We've gotten a lot of that stuff. So our big effort started when we started the renovation work over the summer was once we got submittals approved and cut materials loose, we had everybody order not only what they needed for that, but also for the addition too. So that's why we moved our big semi-trailer in over here by the football field and our other Connex boxes. That's full of plumbing fixtures that we already have for the addition, our big panel boards, the electrical, our bathroom partitions and accessories. We have all the rooftop units for the addition. We have all that stuff already on site. Roofing materials too is a big one to get early. So we made a major effort to try and get all that stuff as soon as we could and store it here so that we're trying to mitigate any of those impacts. Not to say that there's not, something out there. We know we have all the light fixtures. We know we have major, but there will be something, but we hope that we've mitigated it by getting all the big stuff and what I would call showstoppers that can impact moving forward. Other jobs, though, like as far as Boyd Jones goes, what we're, our jobs that are starting now are in a whole different boat. They're trying to order stuff now, and we're only having to fight that battle.
Yeah, architecturally, right now, we're just looking at a few fabrication drawings. Things are going as planned, real smooth. We've got a few submittals that I think we're just reviewing now for colors and brick patterns, things like that. I think we're just ready for those brick layers to come out and get that started. But I think the good news is that being dried in the wintertime is going to be the best thing. Sure. District and for the schedule. So yeah, we're tracking that along. No news really. I guess the good news is no news. Yeah. From the architectural front. So yeah.
Okay, thanks for all the info, gentlemen. Anybody have any questions? Want to move on now? Anything to add? No? So good out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, it'd be nice, like I said, to get dried in and look forward. So, thanks for staying tonight. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming out.
Oh, we'll have you back next month.
Sure.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's an open invitation.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay,
All right.
we'll move on.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Okay. We've got 3 principal reports submitted here. I went through them earlier today. Jackie, do you want to walk through yours? And then if anybody has any questions on Mr. Shannon's or Mr. Baston's, we can. Either Jackie or Dr. Lewis to try to answer those questions. Yeah,
All right.
Jackie's is colorful and full of field trips.
You know, all
Yeah.
the feel good stuff. Fifth and sixth grade, participated in the Capitol field trip. Fourth grade typically is where they learn about Nebraska history, then they visit the Capitol and the History Museum there in Lincoln. And because of COVID, these two grades weren't able to do that field trip. And so we were able to get that in to start the year. So they had a nice time down in Lincoln. Fire Prevention Week just wrapped up with the Arlington Fire and Rescue. Came, gave some hats going with some great information. There's some pictures of some pretty cute kids in there participating in that. They got to sit in the fire truck. PTO held their first meet and eat. They brought in some food trucks for families. There was like a middle school volleyball game going on that night, so I think some out of town guests had some good pizza and things too. Wandering out to the food truck. So they were able to raise some money that way as well, plus provide a good environment for families to eat some good food. First grade had a field trip. They went to Vala's, working on growth cycle of pumpkin, and they had some beautiful weather. We haven't only had bad weather, so I'll keep that as long as we can. Elementary is currently working through that ELA pilot. Grades 2 through 6 completed their MyView reading, and we're continuing to look at other options as they weren't really thrilled with that one. And so then on the second part there, K1 have loved the Super Kids curriculum that they've been piloting, and second grade's going to pick up Super Kids second semester to see what they're thinking about that. ELA math or ELA standards for the state were adopted and approved at the beginning of this year, like September, I think. And so our teachers have been working to process through new standards while we're looking at new curriculum, which is a lot of work, but they're doing a nice job with that. So right now we're just comparing and contrasting what the old standards look like compared to the new and seeing how that matches up with what we're currently teaching. Good stuff. Any questions?
None? Okay. How about anything that anybody wants to pull out of either Mr. Bankston's or Mr. Shada's report? I think Mr. Shada's is pretty heavy on homecoming activities. Great, he does have a lot of pictures in there. He knew he wouldn't be here, so. Yeah.
We had to be in today on that, the band that they had, and it was very, very good. Talked about financial responsibility and I just am always thrilled to see the kids. They were so responsive and so polite, and it was a great presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Shauna finds good things to bring in. Interesting.
Okay. Any other comments, questions before we move on? All right, that brings us right into our superintendent's report, which would get us, we've completed item 6.1, take us down to item 6.2, discussion of the professional learning Let's Start on Friday mornings. Dr. Lewis, I'll turn this over to you,
Yeah.
and Mrs. Morgan.
Yeah, we've had an opportunity to visit about it a
Okay.
little bit, and we had some Paris and some thoughts on it, and we talked about the reasons why Friday morning was selected and the things that were holding us back from making a good experience for everybody or for everybody. It's kind of what we talked about. So, and Jackie, feel free to jump in here too, but the reasons that Monday Late Start were good is because you're not losing teachers and coaches to activities at the end of the day. You've got everybody when they're fresh in the morning as far as your teaching staff goes, and it seems like when you do things at the end of the day, you kind of have that checkout mentality that the kids are gone and it's harder to engage staff members at that. But we do acknowledge that extra time in the morning for kids that are still arriving at the same time has been not the best situation for the parents who have been assigned like different tasks to do with these kids. It's been chaos, and so we are willing to keep talking about what we can do to make that better. We don't know if changing the date and time would be better, or if just reworking what we're doing with the elementary kids, or the time that they can be dropped off, so we don't have them there quite as long. So that's kind of the discussion that they had in the team last week regarding that situation. So I think if we decide that we would be changing completely and going to like an early dismissal in the middle of the week, it doesn't solve all of your problems. It doesn't, sorry, this is the drum, sand. Back to what we're talking about. It doesn't solve a lot of the problems, because if we're dismissing early at the end of the day, then our buses have to run early and kids are then delivered home before parents are home from work. So I think part of the reason we said you can still drop your kids off at the normal time and we'll have activities for them to do is so it didn't interfere with parents' workday on Friday mornings, but it will interfere with the workday still if we have the early out and we run those buses early. If we don't run the buses early, then we're still trying to manage kids at the end of the day. That's not good. Am I missing anything in the conversation right now?
No, I just, I do believe there is an importance in a reason for the PLC time. I think if you take that away, you start adding staff meetings, which will come cumbersome when you have coaches before school, after school, or those types of things. So there's a need to have that time. I absolutely recognize that the time that we have right now with kids in the morning is not optimal. It's tough because we're stuck between, making sure that families have a place for their kids to be that's safe before school, but then also manning those kids while they're here when we have, sometimes you've got 4 paras and there could be upwards of 150 or 200 kids walking the track, which is okay, except for when it's not. And there's kids that aren't always listening very well. There's things like that. Plus crossing with the amount of high school kids we have now, crossing traffic, and you have to position people in certain areas, and then if the para is gone for whatever reason, and then you're scrambling to try to cover areas, it's just not overly safe and effective right now. And so on my side of things, there's a need to reevaluate what we're doing. I would be open to any brilliant ideas anybody might have. We really have tried lots of options between different activities for kids, keeping them in the building, getting them out and getting them fresh air. So we've tried lots of things, but more than willing to listen to ideas or options that anyone might have.
Is this primarily on the elementary and middle school side, or all grades?
I don't think middle school, high school has as much of a problem. I don't think the high schoolers are like rustling to try to get here at 7:30. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I don't think that they are running. I think the middle school, they're fairly contained in the gym, and there's a pair that's in there. They're just a little more low key because they're on their phones and hanging out, and little people are just not. Yeah, they're just not as easy to, for lack of a better term, entertain them for an hour. I will tell you that the pressure and the stress that we're putting on the people who are working hard for us during that time is a lot. And so I feel that every time we're done. I will also say we do have an abundance of tardies on Friday mornings. I am not 100% sure if it's like, hey, we got 30 extra minutes and then all of a sudden we don't, but our numbers are pretty high on our side, and that's all I can really speak to, but I don't know.
We do have a handful, I would say. There's not a lot more tardies on Friday morning on the high school side. I would say, I don't know, maybe 5 students that are regularly then tardy on Fridays. A lot of our groups have practices on Friday mornings, and then those kids leave from practice and go home and get ready for school and come back. So some of them might be rushing through that. Some of them will just say, I just got to go at night. And some of them run over to Starbucks and come in with coffee for, so that sometimes, depending on how long I have to wait in the morning at the drive-thru, it's really not big of a time. So those reasons are all completely different than why elementary students would be tardy on this Friday. So what the team kind of decided is that we'd probably do at least with our K through 6 families, do a survey and see how changing the time that they can do, like, bring their kids to school on Friday morning and impact them. So right now, they're able to bring them at 7:30, just like on a normal day. If we move that to 8:15, what does that look like for our families? How many families would be negatively impacted if we shifted that? That only gives us really then 20 to 25 minutes that we're trying to fill for these students rather than an hour that we're trying to.
Which would look similar to a regular morning.
Normal.
Structure level.
Yeah.
If you did it in the afternoon, you wouldn't have the staggered people dropping their kids off. You know, you'd already have them all, and, you know, they could go out and walk the track all together. So, I mean, I think one of the big problems is there's just a steady stream of kids from, say, 8 o'clock until 8:40, and there's just not enough people to take a group over to the track. And I realize that it's mostly the primary kids. But they're, especially at the beginning, a little insecure about that, because if everybody isn't in their classroom at the right time, they get a little insecure, you know. But if you had it in the afternoon, the kids would already be there. It might make it a little bit different, easier.
You're saying afternoon, you're saying after 3:30 or?
No. I'm saying like 2:30 to 3:30 or something like that. So then everybody would be out by 3:30 when they want the high school practices. And you know,
Like Miller, on every Wednesday, they release at 2. That's what you're saying.
right.
In the afternoon.
And then, you know, Wednesdays, I think we try to have, do we try to have shorter practices still or not? No? Okay. I just think it's easier to move the high school kids into a different mode than it is to do the primary kids. I know it was a nightmare. Friday mornings was a nightmare.
Why did this start? Because this has not been like this before. This had to start a couple.
It's been here for 7 years that I've been here.
Were you on the team when we put this in place? That was my first question. I think it's been 10 years. I think.
I was on.
Okay.
I guess I'm trying to figure out. I'm going back 14 years, but school started at the same time and got out at the same time, Monday through Friday. So why did we shift from that? I guess is my question. I know I'm going back. Yeah, back. I know I'm stretching memories here, but I'm trying to gain an understanding of why it was.
Yeah. So as I remember it, there was a desire to have PLC time once a week in the morning. As we were facing some challenges in the administration then, and the board all agreed, said, hey, we need some time once a week to bring everybody together and stay on the same page. We have, you know, every business has these. Once or twice a week, we get everybody together. It's, you know, here's the playbook, let's review it. And so for professional development, I believe is what we call that. And I think it might be a good idea to find somebody that was involved in those decisions. And because when we look at overhauling this, I think we should be pretty cognizant of what the goals of what we're actually doing. The goals are for professional development for teachers, and start our evaluation from that point.
A lot of really great things happen.
Yeah, when we do that,
Well,
yeah.
that curriculum that I talked about with state standards and looking at those, that's the time that we do that. We do that together. And so they're in grade level teams. We're able to talk through those things. We can talk with other grade levels. We can do some of that work during like a common plan, but then you can't get those, cross grade levels or district wide. We've been doing some professional development
And we do have some days built into the years, but it's not,
Yeah.
you can't focus on it for 4 hours one day and then not think about it for 6 weeks. It's really effective to have that continuity of conversation.
But the conversation is not like we're getting rid of PLC time, it's just we're putting it at a different time, right?
Well,
that's the conversation.
Yeah, and I want to
These are-
clarify,
that's where it
was
came
that,
from.
where did,
Right.
I'm assuming here, this PLC time existed prior to 10 years ago.
I don't
believe
always
here it
after
is.
school or before school, and then we missed out on all the coaches. We couldn't ever get everybody together before school or after school because, there was dance squad or
Basketball practice in the morning,
Mornings.
football
So
practice.
that was
Or
back
school.
in one.
So-
When I was here, that's only 30 years ago. Wasn't there something on Thursday afternoon that they tried for a little bit from because I remember during, especially through the winter, I didn't think we could have
I
practice
do.
before 4:15.
It rings a bell, but not very loud.
We had been a long time
It
ago, but I
had
just remember there was always something.
Yeah, I think
Thursday,
we
never
did have
just
something on
Thursday.
Thursdays,
Thursday,
but,
Wednesdays.
but yes, I
Ours
think it was in the
Thursday when I was here.
afternoon. And, this kind of came about because we had to, we had so much more testing that had to be aligned with our curriculum.
Yeah.
And we didn't have enough time to do that before and after school, or we couldn't get everybody together. And I think it was more trying to get everybody together at once.
So we just shifted it to a more accommodating schedule to involve as many staff and teachers as we could. Is that
Well,
during the school versus before school actually starts?
I think one of the realizations was in order to be successful for it, we had to involve the entire staff. I mean, everybody, it had to happen at a time where everybody could commit to it. And you're, like you said, bells are ringing, but not very loud. There seems like there was conversation on the board, as the state testing was changing, not aligned to our curriculum. We were not happy with some of the results we received. And this was a plan that the admin team put into place to try to move forward and improve.
Previous to that, we would do curriculum alignment about every 7 years, and then they put it up on the shelf. And it was never looked at again. Now, we align our curriculum with the testing, with the state standards. I mean, the state standards are lots different than they were 10 years ago even. And there was just a need for, like you said, for everybody to be there, not just who was left over from coaching or dance squad or whatever.
And I believe in every organization that's a need that always exists, no matter where we're at, as far as a level of achievement or production. It's part of it. Is it? I think I know the answer to this question. We've already answered it, but if the struggle is with the kids in the community, is it possible to move this? We talked about having the kids come in a little bit later. Is it possible to move the start of this a little bit earlier, have the kids come in a little bit later, we can put our hour in place and not have to deal with, all the elementary kids coming through in the morning? Tossing that out there as
We
an
can add
option.
that to the conversation. I mean, I
So
don't
right,
think
what time do we start?
7:45.
7:45.
Start a contract.
Oh,
There you go.
okay, so that answers that question.
Yeah, I mean, heck, it's been 10 years since it's been put in place. I mean, I guess I'm not sure. Is the program stale? I mean, is it what occurs within that hour? Is it gotten
no,
stale? It's still very
I think it's
productive
gotten
time.
better.
It's very
Yeah.
productive.
It
It's not
started
just-
out not
it's
as
not just-
productive as it has grown to be.
And I would say, our staff that run those programs in the morning are constantly looking for ways to spice it up to keep kids engaged, and an engaged kid is less likely to be naughty.
Yeah.
And so they work very hard to continue to grow it and
and make it the best that they can.
You talking about the
But I was,
The
program
educational
itself,
piece
the
of it, yeah.
the teacher piece of it.
Oh, the teacher piece.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I think.
No, I
that's,
think
Well,
we're on
it
the right
was,
track now,
there
yeah.
were a few years that we all kind of went,
Yeah.
but not, it's well done now and it's full. I mean, that period of time
Valuable time.
is valuable time, yeah.
We get through sometimes 2 or 3 different topics of work in
Mhm.
45 minutes. I mean, we push pretty hard.
And like you said, we can meet K3 so that we have an understanding of where kindergarten is and where we're headed and what we need to include.
Subgroups type.
Yeah, yeah, it's a very productive time,
Mhm.
but it goes into a very unproductive time for kids. I mean, Friday mornings was always like, because they came in late, there were kids that didn't come in until way late.
Is more staff one of the possibilities, I mean, in the morning to help?
We have all hands on deck at the elementary. The struggle becomes, we don't have any subs for our paras that are here. And so the struggle then becomes, if somebody's out, it leaves the rest of the team in a lurch because post isn't being manned or there's not people with kids. And so then it becomes kind of a race between the people in the office trying to figure out exactly who's missing and what that means and where they're supposed to be. And they're trying to do that all while answering phones. And the kid just skinned his knee on the track and Johnny's barfing. And so it's really chaotic in there in the morning.
It is.
Sounds so fun. Just to-
I do
the morning
believe
at your
everyone, they
house,
love their
yeah.
jobs, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, if I'm sitting through and getting coffee on a Friday morning, I got some for some friends that need it, but, yeah, so it's, yeah. I would be lying if I said that mornings is the optimal time for us to do that for the elementary side. I understand district-wide that that's maybe not the best option, but on the elementary side, mornings are tough. I mean, they just are.
well, absolutely for the kids.
Yes.
I still
That's
feel
what-
like teachers are fresher in the morning and it's easier to get people engaged in our processes in the morning.
Have you ever tried to hold a meeting Friday afternoon for anybody for any reason?
I think
Your
Friday
5-year-old
afternoon
F
has
would
to
be
be
a
off
good
the
time. Yeah,
But
you're
a
getting
But a lot of
crazy.
times
A
afternoons
Wednesday
though,
afternoon
so
would be.
I've seen it both ways and afternoons it's just, sometimes it's just hard to grab people because you've got a teacher who's like, I've got a kid who's gonna stay here and just help them with this problem. And like there's lots of things that will keep teachers in their classroom. When the end of the day is over. You know, and I'm not gonna say that students don't come in and want to take quizzes occasionally on Friday mornings or anything like that, but that's, I mean, it's a little bit, I don't know. I guess the word we use, like, the end of the day, and you're dismissing kids, some teachers check out, whether they're still here in the building, mentally, they're done for the day. And when you catch them at the beginning of the day, they're up and they're engaged and they're ready to start talking school and thinking school. I mean, that would definitely be a mindset at the end of the day.
However, if you're thinking about those kids coming in, the way they come in and you're anticipating the chaos, it's kind of worrisome too. So, at least for us, I realize this isn't a high school issue. I mean, it's us. I mean, I shouldn't say us. It's primary.
Well, and I was gonna finish that with saying I've been in schools where they've done it both ways, and there are schools that have a late start like that simply they don't bring the kids in until then. So I think that was what the survey was going to be. What would that look like for our families? What would that impact be? You know, because it was either we had a morning in service and kids didn't show up until 9 o'clock in the morning, or we had an early dismissal and we sent the kids home. So I think we do, on both ends, need to explore that. I mean, we want to explore all of the options that are on the table.
Do you have a lot of crossover between the high school and the elementary if you split up and do high school on Fridays and
No,
elementary
we
on
can't do that. No, we do things together. So we would
That's
do
what I
that.
was wondering.
Yeah.
And we share.
We would-
Is there, like, could you, I don't know, keep the bus scheduled, like, let's say it's a Wednesday afternoon. The school that I was at, Miller, there were high schoolers that would come over and they'd run like a babysitting group, and then the buses would all leave at the same time. I mean, you've got FBLA, maybe they could get some
That's a
hours doing something like
possibility,
that. I mean, have you talked about like a Wednesday afternoon?
We started
That's
talking
all.
about this last week, so we haven't talked about that yet. I think we did a little bit. It came up in our meeting when we were discussing having students come and help. And just the liability of that maybe concerned us a little bit, in the reliability of having, schools that need to do that versus people that we can use to do that. But,
I mean, it works in other schools, so
But if there's an adult or two or three in there,
in the building,
With
I mean, you're still
or in with the high school kids.
Well, so it's been brought up, obviously you guys have had a lot of discussions on it, we've had a pretty good discussion tonight, I think, as a board, we need to let you guys work through this and come up with the best solutions, and we'll be listening for recommendations. This is obviously something you're gonna work on for a while.
yeah, there's not an easy,
Yeah.
it's not perfect, there's not a quick solution. But in the meantime, we'll continue to support our parties and try and find better ways to manage the kids.
You want Jason to come in for
That would be great.
Yeah.
All right,
That,
a wagon, bring a wagon behind, and we'll just take them over.
All right, so we'll have another update next month, right? Please, okay,
absolutely.
all right. Item 6.3, thriving moments.
We're gonna keep hanging on to this one. We're gonna revisit this every month, all year. But last week we had some great moments. We had some staffing issues, particular in the kitchen. And what I saw was a lot of people pitching in to help out and to make sure that children were served lunches, anything like that. So it was great to have Mrs. Miller and Mr. Shada and Lawrence Reed all down in the kitchen serving and things like that. I mean, typically there's a lot of staff around to help with cleaning up the tables and that kind of thing, but all of these people were pitching in and serving lunch on different days to help Julie out. It was a great team effort, and so we're really proud of how we were able to step up and do that. And then I want to shout out to our guidance counselors as well, because of everything that you saw in our presentation tonight, and also teachers are coming to me and telling me how they noticed how, Mrs. Hoffman's been doing this, and Mrs. Meyer's been doing that, and Dr. Bose's been doing other things. So just really proud of that team and how that team is evolving and really coming together as a team and working together. So some really great things happening. A lot of different things there. So.
Awesome. Item 6.4, discussion on bus rebate program and transportation needs.
Yeah, and I didn't attach any documentation here, but two of our buses, it turns out, we found out the second one today, are eligible for 25% of cost reimbursement from the Department of Environmental Quality if we replace them with a newer model diesel engine that can do them. So we didn't buy any buses over the last 2 years actually, and so we are definitely needing to replace a couple of buses, and our two oldest ones are eligible for that program.
What years are those two buses?
They're the 2010 and the 2011. So they both have engines that are older than that. The engines are predated that, so 2008 or 9. So the engine has to be 2009 or older to qualify for the program. And so two of those buses do have those older engines in them to make them eligible for replacement. The 2011 also has engines on the 240. They're higher mileage, and they're starting, like, we don't have big things going wrong with them, but the little things start adding up, the little thing every now and then.
So the program reimburses us for 25% of the cost of the bus.
Mhm. We are waiting for some pricing on buses. Don't have any quotes on that yet.
Last
My
time
best
we bought
guess is
buses,
between
they
90
were
and 100, but yeah.
Pushing six figures. Should they
Yeah.
have went down?
My guess would be between, now, this plan would also reimburse for a, low mileage used bus that has the
Recognition.
right. So there's possibility that you could find something out there that's low miles with a qualifying engine as well. So we'll explore that. It's kind of nice to get warranties and things like that.
Yeah.
Is this an ongoing program or is it just for a year or 2 years?
It pops up every now and again. I would not say it's an ongoing program, but every once in a while it comes around. We are able to take advantage of it. That's nice.
2 or 3 years ago.
Last time
How long
it
have you been
came
here?
up, yeah, this is my 3rd year, but last time
So
it came
it
up
was
in my
one of the
career,
ones
like, we
that-
didn't have any buses that qualified, so we kind of changed, I think, the
Yeah.
application.
Let me ask this question. This program aside, I mean, realistically, these 2 buses, when do you think we try to cycle them?
Well, it kind of depends. Once we get some pricing, we're going to find out when we can actually get new ones. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we could commit now and not have a bus until next June. You know, as far as that goes, and that might be best case scenario because I know I've purchased buses in April before in a non-COVID world and not taken possession until September.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be, I think if we start this process now and we get them purchased and we take care of all the things that we need to qualify for the NDEQ reimbursements, it is still not going to be for the next year.
Was 2019 last year we bought this?
That's not next year. I think we bought on 18 and 19 because we paid for one out of 18, 19 fiscal year and then fiscal year.
What did we budget for this year? I mean, we can pay for
Well,
buses through depreciation or transportation.
And so that was 150,000 that we moved over there, and then I budgeted in the general fund for small vehicle purchases. So I would say 150,000 is what we have with the reimbursement that could potentially have two buses.
Mhm. Yeah. So the need box is checked. but-
And we could reallocate some of that I budgeted for small vehicles, and if we only need one small vehicle and we have another 30,000 credits, we could also use that if we need to.
I think anytime you can save 50 grand on buses, especially given the mileage on the roads, definitely something to look into.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
You have to take the old ones out of circulation, so you can't keep using them. That's
Yeah.
part of it.
Who's 2 buses will these be taken?
One is connected to your spare, and the other one for the drives.
So you guys will just continue to look into that and have more
Yep.
input from the board.
And this is the one where you have to get rid of the lower everything, isn't it?
Yeah, we have to, you can't, yeah,
It's
you
not
have to take it out of
sell- you can't
circulation, so you
sell
can,
it to, Big Ag or whatever.
I'll check into that, but you just can't use it in your fleet anymore. So you might have
I
to
was
trade
thinking
it.
that you had to, like, have it destroyed.
Where's your bus, don't you?
Yeah, Bruce can.
Yeah, exactly. We give you-
Okay,
Really?
looking
I
forward
don't
to
know.
more information
I
about
think
that.
if you say you have to destroy the bus that you're not gonna use anymore, I think that opens up all sorts of fun
Yeah.
conversations. But yeah.
Okay, and so, but there's also discussion about one of the vans,
Yes.
or,
Our oldest mini has been,
we talked about this a couple months ago. I think,
yeah, we
right?
did. Our oldest mini, I think, it's got about 100,000 miles on it. We had an issue with the air conditioning on it. We cycled 2 hours. So I think each year, my first year and my second year, we bought
Mhm.
new ones and we sold one. Anyway, I don't remember exactly which ones. I know number 1 and number 5 we purchased since I've been here. So we do about 1 a year typically. Right now, the oldest one is just starting to have lots of little things go wrong. But, it's fine for running around with those trips, but you don't send anybody with that one. Again, we're going to
Mhm.
So, yeah, we probably need to discuss that a little bit too. the way our transportation has been lately, it really wouldn't hurt looking for just to add another vehicle to that. As well.
I was
I mean, there's been days when we have to let people know there's not transportation for you, so you can't.
Yeah.
You can go, but you have to get into the.
We talked about this last year and went to vote on possibly looking at a four-wheel drive
Right.
Suburban or something to that.
Yeah,
Just four-wheel drive.
something so it's a little bit safer when the weather is
Right.
questionable.
And is that something we can look at, talk about again, but possibly look at a low miles used one that's more affordable than a brand new
Yeah,
$70,000 SUV?
Well, I mean,
absolutely, we
so-
can look, I mean, it's,
But, I mean, our needs.
Right.
I mean, let's put our needs here. I mean, but when we had this conversation last time, we talked about needing something that was four-wheel drive. and
something that
potentially
will be
something-
better with pulling the trailer.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
football takes the trailer, softball takes the
Well,
trailer,
that's what
other
I
places
was-
to play.
yeah. I think we were talking about too.
Yeah,
is
so the
having
vans, they can do it, but it's not easy for
More
those big
universal.
ones. Yeah, so something with a little bit for those types of things.
Right. Okay, well, I mean, is that something that we should get some estimates on and continue the discussion next
Yeah.
month?
Yeah, I'll come with some numbers.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to.
Okay, can I throw this out there? I don't know if this is this something that we need to have, since Matt is in that business, having him take a look and reaching out to the other automotive world out there for finding a good low mile used
That's the,
vehicle?
yeah. The auction outlets are kind of the obvious solution there. There's, the quantity's not out there they used to be. I can.
This
run
year's
close
probably a bad
reports
time
and
to-
it'll show the prices they brought running through the ring. So, I mean, if you ran that report today, you could assume it'd be similar next month. And it'll just be finding room, you know. So, yeah, I'm happy to do that. I can run some of that stuff off for next week or next month.
Do we have to go to vote to let him do that? Or
No.
is that
No.
just pull it out?
No, we're not agreeing to rise
Yeah.
from
Right.
that, we're just using
No.
resources that.
That's, I didn't know if we had to have,
No,
to give
yeah.
him permission or whatever it
I'm
was.
trying to source really cheap on that for you, Bruce.
Okay,
Yeah.
as long as it's your check, it's fine.
Yep. All right, so more on that next month. NASB and Nurse Updates.
They're attached there. We want to talk about the March board meeting first.
Oh, there's, what's that?
Yes,
Okay, I'm sorry.
I have a schedule conflict that I know is coming on the March board meeting. And I was, hoping that we could discuss now. So we're well prepared in advance of possibly, having an earlier board meeting. It was due to be a late one anyway, which is why it kind of caught me by surprise. Well, yeah.
March 14th. Yeah,
So for us, that's a little bit later than normal. If we would go the week before, what we're running into there is spring break and coming off of spring break. So we have had meetings as early as the 8th when that falls on the second Monday as in the past. So I guess that's just kind of what I'm asking if that's possible to change the date of that March board meeting.
so there's no state statute that says we have to have a board meetings on a particular day during the month. I think it just says we have to meet.
We have to meet monthly.
Monthly. What's the school calendar of the kids?
The kids will not be in school on the 9th, I'm sorry, the 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Okay. And so then the only thing to move it to a different day, we just need to be pretty comfortable that we'd have a quorum.
Right.
That, you know, we didn't have 4 board members with other conflicts during
Right.
that time, so. So if we had it on the 7th, if we tried to have it on the 7th, give us Janet's, okay,
But that's okay.
Well, yeah, I just wanna, do we have commitment from Chase?
I'll be here.
Shannon, you're good? Okay. Shannon?
Probably.
Yeah, that's,
It's
yeah.
a long time ago.
No, a lot can change between now and then. Bruce, Jason?
I'm good on the second.
Okay. All right, so let's try and do that, because the other option then would be to have the meeting without the superintendent on the 14th, and I'm really not in favor of that idea. It just seems like we're checking the box and not doing anything else. So should we shoot for the 7th of March? And then other than having it published a week or, to
Yeah.
maintain our open
Yeah,
meeting
we'll get-
laws, we don't need any
We'll
action.
get the
but we-
publications, and I'll probably, just make sure that gets placed on like the homepage of our website and
I'll
try to
figure
let as
it,
many
yeah.
as pleasant
Okay.
as possible know that change is coming.
Okay, all right. Now the nursing and ASB
Yeah.
updates.
They were both attached there. The nursing one was small enough this time, a little bit smaller than normal, but that could be attached to you. I'll let you peruse that one. There's a lot of interesting information in there. On the NASB one, you take a look at all the things that are coming up. Matt and I were able to attend the, maybe you want to talk about that a little bit later, but we
Yeah.
attended the membership meeting in Fremont that we will see coming up. There's a tailgate party if you're interested in that, and some fun things happening, and then the state education conference is coming up. So that really just kind of piggybacks into my next thing there. If you are interested, our registration is open for the state education conference, which is in, it's at CHI Center downtown on November 17th, 19th, or 18th and 19th. Safely the 19th. Yeah, thank you, 18th
So
and
that's
19th. So
Thursday, Friday, or Wednesday?
it's Thursday, Friday. And I have a bunch of committee meetings on Wednesday. I'll be there most of the day on Wednesday also. So if you would like, I can register you. If you want to register yourself, that's certainly an option too. But it's just as easy for me to go in and register everybody at the same time. So
I'd like to go Thursday and Friday.
Thursday and Friday.
Chase, new board member, state education conference.
Yeah, I'm out of town.
Oh, you are? All right, so I'll say, but
I think you might have had the
you
option.
can't do that, yeah.
Because you may have been able to go as a newly elected board member. That's pretty true.
They were remote last year.
That's right.
Not sure.
I'm so sorry. Like, how did I erase that? Let's see what the pre-conference ones look like. I will open up the pre-conference because there is like a, I think 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, there's pre-conference sessions. Yeah, so
Alright.
I will let you know what those are and if I have a feeling to you
Thank
all,
you.
so you can figure it out.
So Thursday morning, that's normally when we've been, Bruce and Jason, that's general session. Then we have breakout sessions and early afternoon. Yeah. It was at, Vista Conference Center forever.
What days are these?
It's the-
18th, 19th.
October?
November 18th and 19th, so that's the Thursday. Before Thanksgiving.
Right now, I would say, sign me up as well.
Pre-conference for you or just the Thursday?
Probably just Thursday and Friday.
So other than Chase, we'll look at some of the registration program.
Yeah.
I think you guys can email us when you register you, so we'll
I think so.
Mhm. Great.
Okay, we'll move into the committee reports. We've got the negotiations committee report on here, not because we met, but because we need to meet. We have, by statute, we have until the end of November, right?
We have to meet before the 1st of November initially.
Okay.
So we have to meet sometime.
Meet with the AEA for our first,
Yes.
sometime in October, so. What do you think? Let's go. That is Chase Jason and I, right? No,
Jason is no longer.
no.
Bruce.
Jason, Bruce Shannon.
No, Bruce and Jason, you.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
You don't want to get those messages, Jason.
No.
Yeah, so typically the
Have
first
they-
meeting is pretty informal.
Yeah. Have they indicated what dates will work for me?
No, I have not heard from them yet, so I will reach out tomorrow. I don't know if there's going to be any change in leadership there. I don't know if the AEA president is no longer teaching, so I don't know if they're restructuring or if they're redoing their leadership, if they're redoing voting officers or anything. So I will just reach out to.
Yeah. Do you want to wait to hear back from them, Matt, or do you want to give some options to them?
You know, I'm looking here like
I don't know if it's not.
the bottom half of October. I don't have any travel plans or anything, so those last 2 weeks.
I'm tied up the week of the 18th right now. Okay. For any meetings.
All right.
Last week, I'm free every evening.
I say I'm open the 25th right now, that week.
Just one night. Phil.
No, that week.
Okay, the week of the 25th. All right. Yeah, so am I. So
You're talking October, right?
Yeah. Let me toss that out to them
Sure.
and we'll get a night.
One of those evenings, yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, that first night is, we'll discuss, how we're going to exchange offers and things like that.
Or, yeah.
Okay.
7.2 professional development sharing, I think. Tom and I went to membership meeting. I attended 2 exciting breakout sessions. One was on all the fun things that went on this year in Lincoln and our legislative summary. And went over a lot of the bills, many of the high profile bills. We've all heard about that. I think the message there was that they're coming back. They're still trying to figure out the tax problems, obviously. There's a lot of talk about personal curriculum. The other board, or the other breakout session I attended was kind of a update, I guess you'd call it, or a refresher on the Nebraska Means Act with, we can open up the World Herald or look online without seeing some kind of story about a board meeting that Attorney Ryer got pretty wild. So he brought up, we reviewed what are the open, what are the Nebraska committees, what are we required to do, and what are we not required to do. And a lot of it's really common sense, just a couple of small takeaways that I took from it. One thing, there's nothing that says that we're required to technically approve our board meeting agenda, which is interesting. Some discussion about moving items up and down and around, if that requires actually a amendment to the, to the agenda, it does not indicate what the reason to move items up and down, just like we did tonight. So it was a good refresher for me, but the basics are we gotta have the meetings, advertising, time, et cetera.
Matt, so
Yeah.
did they talk about the open comment period a little bit? Because I know that's where a lot of these issues are coming from.
Yeah.
It's so different, I think all of us, we talk to people in conversation. Obviously, coming to a board meeting is a little different. Did they talk about that at all?
Yeah, they did. They talked about the public comment section, and we are not required to have a public comment section at every single board meeting. We're required to have a public comment session periodically. Yeah. So it's a kind of a broad term, right? You can do it in the beginning, you can do it at the end, you can do it within, somewhere in the middle if you'd like to. That's up to every individual board. Yeah. So, yeah, it is a long, you have to sign in, you have to list your name, you have to list your address if you're going to speak to the board. Whoever is presiding at the meeting can limit public comments to a reasonable amount of time. Our policy says 5 minutes. We can determine what's reasonable. So, yeah, just interesting stuff, with everything that's going on. And, yeah, I feel really fortunate that we're the community that we are, and the place that we're at, the district that we're in. This is fun.
This session, the first session that I attended was on the teacher shortage, and different avenues to find teachers, and it was not just teacher shortage, but employee shortages. And I don't think that is exclusive to schools these days. I think everywhere you look, you see, performance signs on the doors and like getting here, why does come work here?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's some creative ways that, people or school districts are using to get teachers into classrooms. There's different avenues for certification, and we've hired using some of those avenues before. There's a big movement coming towards growing your own or having excellent careers become teachers, like supporting them in their education and utilizing them when possible in their classrooms. And the sub certificates is always a conversation, and the amount of days that you can use a sub, and the amount of when you can start using subs of teachers that have retired, and all big conversations. So, I mean, I think we've been pretty creative in using some of those solutions to the shortage. We're fortunate that we still get adequate applications. We get lots and lots of applications for elementary positions. You get fewer when you get into the high school subject-specific areas, but that's the same thing that's happening statewide. One interesting statistic is that there's like, something like, I don't remember what the number was, but it was ridiculously high. I'm gonna say it was like 3,600, but if that doesn't sound right. There's 35 music teachers in the state of Nebraska, and there's schools that can't find music teachers. There are that many schools in the state, so like, where are they going, what are they doing? I mean, and that's not just music. I mean, I would say, high school science, high school math, those are really tough ones to fill. Music, art, any of those, like ag, shop, anything that's just kind of real specific to learning like that. You just have fewer and fewer. You even have fewer programs in the state, for a long time, there was only one school in the state that even had an ag education program. And then I think, robotic layers, it's just difficult to get teachers educated sometimes too. So that was an interesting conversation. No one had any miracle things that worked great or anything like that as far as, custodians of parents, which are people that we need, even subs, bus drivers, subs in kitchens and sub cares and things like that. Those are really, really rare for us to find. And we've had ads out there since last spring for some of those positions. We even put it in the enterprise group, people advertising every paper, every edition of the extra paper for the next 6 months. So we're running some of those in there. I know, so it's really challenging for every school right now to get those positions filled, to get all of their positions filled, but really to get those classified positions filled.
Do we utilize any like digital platforms for like Indeed and some of those others?
I guess we haven't used any of the private sector ones. We've used a lot of, our At the Track and our GNSA hiring consortium and free education websites, and Referrals publishes them, but we haven't tried.
For some of the non-educated positions, it might be a route to go.
Yeah, definitely. We could definitely explore that. We could get a couple of
Is
I'm off tomorrow and see what we get.
Yeah, take a look at it. Was there any talk about, what's going on, especially like down in Lincoln College for, in the College of Education? I mean, is there enrollment up, down, flat? We have more or fewer kids entering that coming out of high school, or?
You know what, that wasn't a big part of this conversation, but I do have a meeting in a couple of weeks with our NCTA group, which is the accreditation program. So that always brings university representatives, and we get some good information on that day about how many are, I know it was really a serious issue for UNK just a few years ago, the amount of people that were coming in, the amount of people that were retiring versus the amount of students that were graduating. So it was really a serious issue. We've really tried to get creative about ways, and I think I love public schools, the websites and the videos and things like that have gone a long ways to improve the public perception of what teachers do sometimes. it seems thankless and sometimes it seems unglamorous. And a lot of the conversation too is some of these kids are coming out of a 2-year, degree program and making twice what a teacher might make, in the first years. So we definitely know that that's probably as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Challenges.
Yeah, so lots of things to consider there. And so the NCTA group, we work on, like, we'll propose different avenues for certification, different things to attract students into teacher education programs, quality teacher education programs, things like that. So as you're coming in from that, we feel it's some good information.
That's unfinished business. Item 8.1, discuss, consider, and take necessary action to adopt an ASB superintendent evaluation instrument. Last month, we had a pretty lengthy conversation about this, and the sense of the board was that we were going to move forward with adopting this evaluation tool. NASB actually reached out to Dr. Lewis and I, and so we kind of started that process already. Provided NASB with all the board members' emails. I'm sure they have them already, so that when we start this process, they can get the evaluations out to everybody. But we do need to take formal action to adopt this.
I'll make a motion to approve the use of the NASB superintendent evaluation instrument by Arlington Board of Education.
All right, thank you, Shannon and Chase. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion?
I got just a quick question.
Yeah.
So you said that the NASB is going to be reaching out to the board members
You'll receive the evaluation via email.
by them.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make sure so it doesn't go into junk mail and I delete by
Yeah.
accident.
Yeah,
What it's going to
no,
look like
that's
when
a
it comes through.
that's a good point.
Because I do have a lot of stuff that comes through on
Yeah.
spam.
When I get mine, yeah, it comes in here, yes. So when I get mine, I'll reach out to you just to make sure.
We'll make sure that
I got yours.
that's.
Yeah, you bet. Any more discussion? Let's vote, please.
Shannon Wilmot,
Yes.
Matt Daniel.
Yes.
Jana Warner,
Yes.
Chase Carnival.
Yes.
Jason Mark,
Yes.
Bruce Shaw.
Yes.
All right, very good. Motion carries. Moving right along. New business, item 9.1. Discuss, consider, and approve the purchase of deep freeze network protection. This is not kitchen equipment.
Nope. So deep freeze is a program that Mr. Sanders started using a few years back. When it was initially something that came about, you could use it in the manner in which Mr. Sanders was using it, which is we purchased 100 licenses and we still on 700 computers, but you can't do that anymore. And please, I know. So anyway, we need to have licenses for all of our computers. And so this reflects what the renewal for the 100 that we already had, and then adding the 500 or the 650 licenses for the other ones. This is a 3-year subscription, so when you break it down by years, it's about $6,000 a year for a total of $18,012. What this does is it enables us to push out updates to computers without having to touch every single device. So like when we had our issue with our NWA testing this fall, it would have been much more efficient if we had this in place on all of those devices and we could push out the update that they needed. Also, part of that is the age of some of our computers, but so it makes things like that. It also it can help us with monitoring student activity on their computers and things like that as well. And so,
Okay.
when you look at it from the 3-year perspective, it looks like a big bill now, but it's really not too bad from a 3-year perspective for a scale this size. And we've been fortunate enough to get most of our computers purchased paid for with ESSER's funding and E-rates funding over the past year and a half or so. So we do have the budget to go ahead and take care of this.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of a 3-year subscription to Deep Freeze as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Janet. Any more discussion? Let's vote, please.
Matt Daniel,
Yes.
Janet Warner,
Yes.
Chase Carnival,
Yes.
Jason Hart,
Yes.
Bruce Jones,
Yes.
Shannon Womack,
Very good. Motion carries. Item 9.2, discuss, consider, and take necessary action to revise policy 3130, purchasing policy to increase superintendent spending limit as discussed.
So this one came out of, well, we've talked about this a couple of times over the past year or so, and it came up actually on policy review last month, so I pulled that out, surveyed several schools. And checked some of their policies, those that had their policies on their websites online to kind of pull out and see where other schools are. There's a couple of schools that are still at 5,000, like we are, but for the most part, those of similar size or that are nearer to us have increased those limits. As I have a rationale here, anywhere from 10 to 20,000. 20,000 seems like a pretty big jump and pretty extreme, but 10 to 15 seems pretty standard when we're starting to look at the fact that it's pretty hard to buy anything for $5,000 when you're making what used to be a run-of-the-mill purchase, which would cost $2,000 or $3,000, is now $6,000, and some of those purchases really can't wait for board approval before you can go ahead and order, because the way supply and demand is right now. If they have a supply, it might not last very long, and if we have to wait 3 weeks before approval, we might miss out. We did find that out in some computers last spring. We had to regroup and do something different because we were waiting for the approval for, I believe it was the E-rate ones that we got the $90 million we have to shift after that board approval, and since the amount didn't change, we were still able to, but we couldn't get the ones that we wanted. So it is a little bit of an issue as far as that goes, but just the way things are moving, most schools have increased that. So you guys can discuss what you feel might be reasonable.
Do you know how long that 5,000
At least
6 years, I think.
Okay.
At least 10 years.
I can look and see when we adopted the policy too, when we initially got it, it would be on the actual.
Yeah,
policy
that's
year.
been the amount ever since I've been involved.
That gives me
Something like that.
Yeah. I'm kind of going through
I think it looks like 10 is like regular practice. I have no issue with that.
Board?
As you say, 12.5 just to be different.
A bit more? Yeah. Does that help you, Dr. Lewis?
It does help.
Okay. All right, so we want to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to amend policy 3130, purchasing policy to increase spending authority from $5,000 to $10,000 as discussed.
Thank you, Janet and Shannon. Any more discussion? Let's vote, please.
Janet Warner,
Yes.
Chase Carnival,
Yes.
Jason Hart,
Yes.
Bruce Jones,
Yeah.
Shannon Womack, Matt Daniel.
Yes. All right, very good, motion carries. Item 9.3, discussion on fuel tank proposals. We have 3 proposals, kind of here, I would say.
Yeah, kind of. And so,
Yeah.
and I have actually more information that actually arrived late Friday after it was published, or actually maybe we got more on it today. So there's 3 attached there.
Mhm.
They're not the specificity that I had asked for in our proposals. And then I had a 4th call today, and said they had done a little bit of research, and before they submitted the proposal, they wanted to make sure that they wanted us to include this one very, very important piece, which is you are a government agency, and the fire marshal has to come out and inspect the site and tell them exactly what you need. So these 3 that are in here did not mention,
Mhm.
oh, it's different because you're a government, or a political subdivision or government agency, and I'm local government, so the rules are different for us. So we're gonna kind of hang on to these, if that's all right with you guys, and because of what the state government wants to see what we need to
So
do.
we
So
actually
can
need to
hang
do-
out, because that would definitely change, because they were ready to give us a proposal, but it would definitely change if they had to include some of those things.
Yeah,
So.
yeah,
Okay.
sure. Well, and I think when we start, yeah, getting tanks like that, a lot of different agencies get involved.
And I read a lot, I read through through the process and the different regulations that we had to, and none of them said, but if you're a government agency either. So I'm really grateful for this one. For this.
Yeah.
So we did some research and found out we can't just do like the normal bid anymore.
So we're gonna back up and start there, huh?
We're just gonna,
Learn what we really need.
we're gonna
and then-
slow down a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
It's good to see us getting some bids.
Yeah, we do, yeah, some of them, some of them are like you can buy the tank, some of them are you can lease the tank.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, with the challenges that we've had getting diesel in town here recently, it really makes it a little bit more important to make sure we can.
I
We
guess
just wanna do it the right way.
Yeah.
what I've found out with some of these things, at least for us up there, Scrivener, the state airport, is whoever we go through to have in there that they take care of the pumps, because when pumps go out, they go out, they go out.
Yeah.
Having somebody doing regular maintenance on it's
Yeah.
well worth it.
Sure. So are you gonna reach out to the state fire marshal?
Yeah.
Sort of that process.
Figure out what
That'll
we
be
can
fun.
do
Yeah.
to be in compliance.
Okay. Item 9.4, discuss, consider, and approve 30 laptop computers for $9,990 to be reimbursed with E-rate funding.
Yes, and I already have the approval letter, and then we had applied for this. And then the first ones that we bought in the spring, they actually shipped them too early for us, but we can pay for them with ESSER money. We budgeted for technology, with ESSER's money. And we have, an amount sitting there that's really just for the technology. So not worried about that. They just shipped too early. So now that we have this approval, they could not have shipped before July 1st or something like that. So now we were needing another cart anyway. One more cart gets us to every cart in the classroom. Of where we need to be with the extra classrooms that we've had, and it just gets us in a better position. So we just need formal approval for that.
Motion to approve purchase of 30 laptops for $9,990 to be paid for with E-rate.
Thank you, Janet and Shannon. It's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion?
I got a quick question.
Sure. You bet.
So thinking ahead or looking ahead, if we're getting a better price on these 30s, have we looked at with the new edition, how many computers would that be for that new edition? Take advantage of it, cheaper price?
Well, we've actually, Dan has applied for, this was the first round of E-rate funding. They made those funds available. The second round, he's got even more money in it. So Dan is actually waiting for approval for another round, which I don't know. It's a pie in the sky one, because I think he's asked for like $160,000 for that. Which would meet all of our needs, and ESSER could go to a lot of other things, but that would definitely get us in that position. But right now, we're, with the addition, we're not adding a bunch of staff members, so we're not necessarily needing to add a whole bunch of cards. We're just getting the elementary staff back into their own classrooms, basically. Our interventionist right now is in a tiny little office. And guidance used to have more of a small classroom, and now we've got two teachers sharing a small sped classroom. So it's really not adding staff or cards or students. So it doesn't really increase our need for computers. It just gets us in a better space. But what Mr. Larson is looking at for computers would phase out all of the next round of E-rate. If we did for that, would phase out all of the ones basically that the NWA Maps test did not come on this year, because they were dinosaurs at 3 years old. And they wrote a program for us that didn't work with it. So so that's what that would do. It doesn't mean that some of those computers can't still be used if we get all of these other ones, but we can definitely use them for other things, and we have these ready so everyone can test more efficiently. So that was in place. Yeah.
All right, so we had a motion, second, any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and vote, please.
Chase Carter.
Yes.
Jason Art.
Yes.
Bruce Shear.
Yes.
Shannon Wilmot.
Yes.
Matt Daniel.
Yes.
Dan Warner.
Yes.
All right, very good, motion carries. Item 9.5, review and discuss board policies. Fun is part of the meeting.
Okay, and I'm not gonna read through all the policies, but I will read so everyone can know what those
Okay.
are. So, 3,200 monies in school buildings, 3,210 bonds for officers, 3,220 educational services units designated representative, 3,230 security, 3,240 safe, 3,250 trespassing, 3,520 transportation, 3,540 bidding construction projects, 3,550 rebates to school employees, 3,560 records management, 3,570 Title I funds, 3,571 school meal program and meal charges. And then there's a couple of forms that go with like 3,520A is a form for that, and 3,520B is a form that go along with the transportation. So, yeah, do you have a question?
But-
Yeah, I would.
My numbers were all different. Not that that makes a big difference, but like, it was one, like 3540 on mine is bidding construction projects. And not that, I guess that doesn't make any difference, right?
Mine's 35.
That's right.
Okay.
Bidding construction project.
It's in a different order on the attachment.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, if you're looking at the
Oh, okay.
attachment order, yeah, it's,
Okay,
because I grabbed them in a big group and it drops them in however it randomly feels like that.
that
But I
works for me.
listed them in the order that they appeared. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
No, that's all right. No problem.
Dr. Bruce, I only saw, there was one policy that had changes to it.
Okay, did I attach a red line? That must have been, because I pulled them right out of the policy manual, so I wonder if we had the wrong version. I can't remember which one.
3560 business operations.
Records management,
It's okay.
3560.
3560 records management.
This is-
It says it's the clean one. It must not have been. So what they do is they drag the clean ones in. So and this is the first time that these have hit the cycle because we're in a 3-year cycle. So we would have not looked at this one since I've been here. So we must have just grabbed, basically, I'll clean this up. Is what I will tell you, because this is a fairly new one. It's a recent one. And I will grab the red line out of it. This would have just come from our lawyers.
Adopted August 24th.
Yep, this would have just been in our policy review, like policy updates on new legislation. So they would have changed that. They titled it the clean one, so I'll have to go back into the originals and find the red line and see if that's something that doesn't have any changes to it. We'll look at the right line there. So what you can see is how that changed with legislation this year. So it's about the political affiliation, religion, disability, sexual preference. Messaging and put it in different places.
Good catch.
Yeah. Anybody have any other questions?
Last time on our agenda tonight, talking so fast trying to get us out of here. The last item on our agenda tonight is item 9.6, discuss, consider, and approve purchase of additional materials to pilot Ready Gen ELA curriculum for 3-6.
So Jackie had in her report a little bit, yeah, about how we're piloting the, it was the my view and my perspective, English language arts curriculum. You heard her say second grade is gonna pilot Super Kids in second semester. Because first, I'm sorry. The signs are on.
That's your big
I'm
time.
sorry.
I have mine on there.
It's old.
But mine's an hour later.
I'm sorry. It tells me what time I'm winding down. So it's embarrassing. And it's uncertain. But so there was not a lot of love in the room for my view, and Pearson sent us that those were complimentary. We didn't have to pay. We paid a little bit for some of it. I think we paid like the Super Kids or something.
Super Kids, we paid a couple
To
thousand.
pilot,
to
yeah,
pilot.
to pilot, but my view and my perspective is they send us complimentary samples and materials to pilot those. And when we came back to the rep and said, not thrilled with those, what else you got for us? He said, well, I've got this, but I can't give that one to you free this time to pilot. So
Hmm.
my hope is
Yes, that was my
that
exact response.
that if this is the right curriculum, that this will be deducted from a full purchase price. If we're going to pay for some of these, it will be teacher's manuals, it will be some student books and workbooks and things like that. So, because, I mean, we need to find something else. The teachers were not happy. Grades 2 through 6 were not happy with my view and my perspectives. This one they've been prepared for is very, very different than the way that they have become accustomed to teaching, and the way that they have become accustomed to teaching. And so that worried me a little bit, but they were dissatisfied with my view to the point that they're like, give us something completely different, because this is kind of like what we have, but they didn't like it at all. So Ready Gen is going to be diving into the deep end, taking off your floaties and seeing if they really are ready to embrace something new. It's good curriculum. It's highly recommended on our ed reports. We can go through and we can review the different curriculum. This one, not just checking green in all of the boxes, because they give you different ratings. Like it's either seriously lacking, which is red. It's got some pieces that you might have to supplement, which is yellow, or greens across the board. So my view also had greens across the board, but it was like 38 or 42 green. This one pretty much full points on everything as far as like usability and standards and everything like that. So it looks like excellent curriculum. It looks like people like teaching with it, and it's easy for them to use. But it will be very different. But they're not going to give this one to us.
So we're hoping a little bit here. Is that accurate, Mrs. Morgan?
That's 100% accurate.
Yeah.
That your teachers, because they could come back and say, we need this too.
There is always a possibility of that. I will tell you that they spent some more time, and Mrs. Wolf put together worksheet's not the right word, but a spreadsheet. So right now they're working through like the one teacher's manual we have in each grade to go through and answer questions about the new standards and how they're working with. This is what we're doing from our time, the new standards and what they look like in Ready Gen before we go full throttle and purchase the pilot materials. We would look to be able to start that second semester. So we've got a little wiggle room with, you could approve it tonight and I could come back to you next week and say, you know what, this isn't going to work either. We got through all these steps and we're a no-go. So the answer to that is, yeah, there's a possibility. I feel like it is less likely because they're walking into this eyes wide open. And I think some of the appeal is, it is different than the way they've taught before, and they're excited about it, where what we had before was kind of like a dulled down version of what we've been using. It was the reaction to the curriculum that they just piloted. So the answer is, I don't know. It's kind of like watching a mystery show. We're not 100% sure, but I'll have some more definitives once we get through all of those spreadsheets and things. The time crunch that we talk about is, if we don't make a decision in the next month, we're going to be hard pressed to get materials and training before the second semester starts. The one piece I will say about whatever curriculum we choose in ELA, we as a staff are really desiring some more training on some more updated versions of teaching reading. And so some more intentional trainings on that will be things that we'll be looking for. So I'm hoping that that in the budget of our adoption for ELA, some of those trainings will be in that budget that we've kind of laid out. And so I'll just kind of keep that conversation going. But yeah.
Were there any teachers that did not want to pilot Ready Gen or were very hesitant to go to Ready Gen?
Yeah.
I suppose there's no guarantee that in 2 weeks after they start, I'm like, not what we was thinking of.
There is never a guarantee.
I know.
Death and taxes, isn't that what they say?
But they do
But they're-
their research ahead of time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not
They're
like you're
working-
like,
They're not
oh my
going on a
gosh,
ready
this
check
is what it
completely.
is.
So there will be
Right.
no surprises that they
Right.
stub their toe in later and go, no.
Right, they're doing a lot of legwork right now to make sure, and partially because it is a financial investment for us to even just give it a go. So, and also because, we're not overly thrilled with the last curriculum we had, and there's not a lot out right now. A lot of the companies are in transition into this model of teaching reading, and so there are some products that won't be available for 2 or 3 more years. Well, the standards right now are necessitating that we move, and we've got like 2 options. So for the 3 through 6, kindergarten first are really sold on Super Kids. They're loving life and everything that came with it, which is super funny because they were the ones at the beginning who were like, I don't know about this, but they're really enjoying that, and 2nd grade's excited to give it a go. So sorry, it was really long-winded.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of pilot e-learning materials as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Chase. It's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Let's vote, please.
Jason Art,
Yes.
Bruce Shear, Shannon Wilma.
Yes.
Matt O'Daniel.
Yes.
Janet Warner.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, very good. Thanks, everybody. We have no executive session tonight, so we'll adjourn at 8:51. Strive. I'm closed.
I also put it in my perspectives, and I 1000%